Welcome back. Glad to know you're still with us. Well, very quickly, as the battle against crude oil theft and illegal export intensifies, the federal government has scored a major point with the arrest, repatriation, and arraignment of the very large crude carrier MT Heroic Idun, suspected of being involved in the illicit activity. Following their arrest, the ship's 26-man crew, made up of Indian, Sri Lankan, Filipino, Brazilian, and Polish nationals, were arraigned at the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, on Monday. Prosecuting on behalf of the federal government, the Ministry of Defense arraigned the crew on a 3-count charge bordering on false pretense, attempted crude oil theft, and piracy, among others. The accused pleaded not guilty to the charges, which are said to contravene Section 10 of the Suppression of Piracy and Other Maritime Offences Act 2019. Well, joining us to make sense of this is Mike Cookie. He joins us from Port Harcourt. Hello, Mike Cookie. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, good morning, and thanks for having me.
All right. Well, very quickly, we are looking at this particular incident. At this point in time, can we categorically say that this is actually, a rogue vessel?
Okay. Thank you once again, and good morning. Yeah, just like in your introduction on the topic, it's been mentioned, the Maritime and Cabotage Law holds that for a vessel to come into any country's territorial water, there have to be due process and proper clearance to be obtained, okay, before any activity is being done. So in the case of this heroic MT Heroic Idun vessel that we are talking about here, it breached all known maritime laws. So to that extent, it can be termed as a rogue vessel because its activities within the Nigerian territorial waters were not known and is yet to be established.
All right, that's quite interesting. So very quickly, can you talk to us about the circumstances surrounding the arrest, the detention and the repatriation of this particular vessel?
Yeah, so it's in the public space already that the vessel has been arrested. It was arrested at the Equatorial Guinea waters, or by the government of the Equatorial Guinea, and it had been handed over to Nigerian Navy, and it's back to the country for further prosecution. So this vessel came into Nigerian territorial waters, I think in the month of August 16th, thereabouts.
6.
Okay. Yes, 6th, I beg your pardon, that it came in, and there were no proper clearances. And just like you highlighted, there were 26 foreign nationals on board that vessel. Okay, so what we are seeing here, in one breath, I would like to want to commend the government, for taking this step in trying to sanitize the oil sector. This nation has been bleeding profusely, hemorrhaging. Our economy is depleting by reason of oil theft and bunkering activities that has been going on for the number of years. Of course, you're all aware with the coming on board of the Tompulo Security Company that is now doing a very good work. So this
I like that you mentioned this. My question is, what has been happening before now? Why is it that it was just after he came on board that we started having these discoveries, whether directly by him or by the Nigerian Navy? What is happening here?
So what has been happening has been a conspiracy of theft to bleed the nation within the oil sector. We have seen a collaboration of all forces, from the government side to even the IOCs, even the national companies itself, NNPC, and all of that. All right, because there have been a conspiracy of silence, and this has been going on for upward of almost 10 years. Okay, and so the coming on board of this company headed by the Tompulo, we are seeing a revelation. All right. So for some of us, we have been advocating for this all this while, and we want to hope that the Nigerian government will be so sincere enough and transparent in this process and sustain it so that the nation can at least recover a bit from so much that had been lost in the past.
Okay, let me come in here. You talked about, the stakeholders within the sector being culpable or complicit rather in this issue of oil theft. But from the look of things, especially with those that have been arraigned before the Federal High Court, we're looking at a multi-dimensional, system wherein there seems to be synergy between those who are, smuggling our oil with the international markets. And when you look at the foreigners that were arrested, they're of different, nationals and continents. So are we looking at a major scale of a cartel-like, ring in this instance when it comes to the issue of oil theft?
Oh, yes. It doesn't take just an individual to perpetrate this kind of activity.
Mm-hmm.
There is actually a strong synergy. As a matter of fact, there is an international cartel that plies this trade. Because when you look at even the capacity of this vessel that's been arrested, the vessel has a capacity of carrying 2 million barrels. That's about the size of 3 standard football fields.
Mm-hmm.
All right? So no one individual can be able to do this without a collaboration of other players. And to think of it that this vessel came into Nigerian territorial water, did whatever it did, and had to leave undetected, not until it was apprehended at Equatorial Guinea's waters. It shows that there is a high collaboration, okay, that has been going on. So I also want to say that I hope the media, that is the fourth estate of the realm, will stay on this story to the extent that everyone detailed or everyone that is involved is being exposed, and there should be punitive sanctions that should be meted to all those that are involved in this. The case was adjourned yesterday for today.
Yes.
They will be taking the pleas of 10 other nationals, okay, and because to that extent the case is still in court, it's sub judice. I also want to be careful about some of the details I also release on this interview.
Okay, let's look at Equatorial Guinea's waters now, because this isn't the first time. Sometime around August as well, we had about 3 million barrels, a vessel also seized that had Nigerian oil worth about 3 million barrels at the time too. Why Equatorial Guinea? Especially when you look at, the pathway or the waterways, are we looking at a scenario where we can partner with, Equatorial Guinea to take care of that waterways so that we can curb, oil theft or oil being smuggled out of the country through Equatorial Guinea?
Yeah, so it's not only Equatorial Guinea that is even involved, in terms of the route and the paths, through this. I think Ghana too has also been mentioned, in this mix. So there should be, just like you rightly highlighted, there should be a synergy within the ECOWAS nation, okay, where they will be able to track and tackle this menace. Because truthfully, there is an international syndicate, like a cabal, all right, that they are working in tandem. So routing it through Equatorial Guinea to Gabon, Ghana, and all of that, just like the slave trade parts, when you are exporting, slaves, all right. So for it to be minimized, yes, we encourage and advocate for collaborations among these nations for it to be nipped. But way beyond that, our authorities within the Nigerian waterways, the maritime and all, they have to be called to order. Our laws. I mean, how can such ship come into Nigerian waters and move out undetected?
Okay, let me come in here. Let me come in here
quickly,
because I need to come in here, please. So when we say it's moved out undetected, that might not totally be true because we have the Nigerian Navy on record talking about how it established communication with this particular vessel and that they were unable to lift anything. First, they were caught at the restricted zone, you know, about the place where, of course, it could be possible for them to lift oil. But then they couldn't do that. They left, and Nigeria had to also establish communication with Equatorial Guinea, and that was why they were eventually
No, my sister, that story is not absolutely correct, right? It was the Equatorial Guinea when the vessel was caught at Equatorial Guinea that they established communication with the Nigerian Maritime or Nigerian Navy. All right, because on interrogation it showed that their route was out of Nigerian territorial waters. Okay, so whoever that is trying to fly that, of course, when things we know of all these things, trying to save face and trying to put a public.
Well, either way, but what's important is that the Nigerian Navy was aware that they were on the Nigerian water before they tried to escape.
If the Nigerian Navy was aware, why then did they not apprehend the vessel?
Exactly, that's a question that needs to be answered, really. That's a question that needs to be answered because they were aware, but unfortunately they could not arrest the vessel. And they also said that the vessel or the owners or the agents of that particular vessel has launched an international campaign against the Nigerian Navy, accusing it of piracy. That's also part of the conversation, and I was going to ask you about that.
No. What they are just trying to do, we're aware of that, is just a calculated attempt. They are trying to accuse the Nigerian government of, you know, piracy, violation of human rights of those foreigners on the vessel. Their wives they are taking to social media. Yeah. It's just a blackmail, right? But what has to be done has to be done. The laws have to follow its process. And of course, if the Nigerian Navy or the Maritime Association had apprehended this vessel when it came into Nigerian waters, it would be very glaring that they were doing their duties. But for the vessel to be trapped at Equatorial Guinea's water, then it leaves much to be asked. There are questions that will be raised. Although the case is already in court, let's allow it to run its course. But I'm encouraging that the media should beam a searchlight on this matter. Let's know all those that are involved in this, and let the law take its course. Let them be sanctioned.
All right.
Okay. We'll just take a break now. We'll definitely continue the conversation with you in a moment. Please to stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. The conversation continues with Mike Cookie. Just before that break, the question I wanted to ask is this. Earlier you said there should be synergy between ECOWAS, that's the nations of West Africa to be able to curtail this. But when you look at various reports right from 2018 to 2020, UNDW, we can go on and name all of these reports, that some of these West African nations are beneficiaries. For example, we know Cameroon has a bit of challenge with its oil, and we know quite well that in terms of land borders, Nigerian oil has been smuggled through, such neighboring countries over the last 4 or 5 years. How much of cooperation do you think these nations will be willing to bring to the table if you have, for example, a multi-joint task force to combat oil theft?
Yeah, I believe that these are willing partners. Okay. These countries, they've had diplomatic ties over the years.
Yes.
And definitely it will be in their best interest to work together, not just for the Nigerian oil sector. Mm-hmm. I mean, even in other sectors, it's in the best interest that the ECOWAS nation, and in the first instance, that is why that organization was formed, mm-hmm. for them to look out for each other's interest. All right. So I don't see a situation where any of the countries will be unwilling to want to cooperate, because treaties were signed, agreements were entered, and all of it. So it's a simple thing of keeping to one's own part of the agreement that is reached
But we know
So
sometimes, sorry to butt in, we know sometimes, nations do not have to agree on all, issues, especially when they are both members of a particular union. I mean, we can go on with the EU or NATO or what have you. Sometimes you have disagreements and a nation on a particular issue seems not to be willing because it's not serving its interests. So you still think that can't happen?
Yeah, so when you come to, that's why where you have conflict resolutions and conflict management, and I believe that this is not the first time that probably there had been disagreements either on principles between brother nations. But when such arises, I think there are always mechanisms that they have that they could explore to resolve such cases. Okay, but the general good is that every party interest is being protected. It's just like what happened during the time of the COVID, where our borders were shut, were closed, right, against other nations. And the explanations were given as to why that decision has to be taken, because it was impacting negatively on the country. All right, and I think a reasonable understanding was shown. Reasons were made to prevail, and other nations, they saw the reasons that yes, there's need for Nigerian border to be shut for some certain time, and the borders are being opened. So to that extent, yes, these nations they can have collaborations and synergy. Nigeria has always played the big brother role within the Africa. So if it's being affected just as we are right now, I see absolutely nothing wrong in them having those discussions. These are it's called diplomatic ties that you enter in with your sister country or your other nations, to the good of a win-win situation, for the good of everybody.
All right. Away from that now, it has also emerged that there were 2 other vessels that were intercepted without any form of authorization. They were about to lift liquefied natural gas. They were intercepted by the Nigerian Navy. The question now is, what exactly is wrong with our security network? Why do we have people coming in so close to the point of almost loading our products before they are being intercepted? What exactly is happening? Is that something we need to begin to do?
Exactly what I was trying to say to you, before now, that there is a mafia, it's a clique, there's an international cabal, there's a conspiracy that is working, just to want to keep this nation behind. And that's why I'm still saying that the media has a major role to play in this. Stay on this case, beam the searchlight, expose everyone that is involved, and let the world see them for who they are, so that punitive measures should be taken. These 2 vessels that were intercepted at LNG Bonny Waters, that's MT Arabia and MT Trinity Arrow vessel, they were also just same way smuggled into the nation, and they were trying to load
liquefied natural gas,
LNG gas. Yes. Okay. So our security officials have much more to do. There's so much questions that need to be asked. Just like you said, why is it that these things will happen before? We are always reactive. We are not proactive in our actions. Okay, so, and this is also another breaking story, but thank God that we heard that it's now in the news, it's now in the open, and we are following the story as well. But going forward, I think the Nigerian government, the security agencies, they have to do much more than this. Piracy has been bleeding this nation. We are struggling to come out of recession. Okay, so every angle that needs to be closed should be done.
Okay, this will then lead to the issue of how our borders are porous. We talk about land borders, earlier I talked about several reports indicating that oil is being smuggled through our land borders to Niger, Cameroon, and the likes. Now, we're having issues even, manning our waterways, as it were, because if ships come in and they are not even, detected, they do not have the necessary documents, licenses, and what have you to operate within the shores of the nation, and they are on the verge of either loading or they've loaded and they're being caught at Equatorial Guinea. It just shows you how porous the waterways are too. So what exactly is the issue with border? I know quite well that, yes, in recent times the immigration is trying to do a whole lot with the land border, but looking at our waterways, the maritime now, how do you think we can shore up that border of ours so that we can have some sort of accountability in terms of vessels coming in, doing business here, loading and all of that?
So, Solomon, I need you to know that Nigeria has sufficient laws, right, and policies
in
on
place,
ground,
definitely
in place, right? But what is lacking, the missing link here, is the will, the ability to want to enforce these laws and ensure that it is being obeyed to the latter. That's the missing link, and that is where they say corruption has been bleeding this nation, where officials that are supposed to be doing the right thing, they are turning and looking away just for a paltry sum of some exchange of naira or so. So we have sufficient laws, and I can assure you that our security officials, they have what it takes to rise to the occasion if they want to. We have heard of cases where sometimes these vessels are being arrested, and someone is saying that there is a call from the top. They received a call that you could, so that's corruption.
Yeah.
So it boils down to the government to have the enabling will to enforce the law and take sanctions, just like this very case now of the heroic vessel that is in court. We want to see the end of this matter.
Okay. For me now, finally from my end now, looking at this particular case, we've had, or let's say we have accusations and counter accusations. Are you confident that this particular case will unearth certain, hidden truths or something?
Yes. There are possibilities that we'll definitely get to the root of this matter, and that's why I'm encouraging you guys that are in the media. You have a whole lot, to seeing that this case is brought to light. As much as you stay on it and there is nothing to hide, you put all facts out there, we will definitely see the end of it. Okay, so there is a very high likelihood that we'll get to see the end of this matter, and all those that are involved are exposed and the punitive measures are being taken.
Okay, thank you so much, Mike Cookie, for the insights you have shared on this show this morning.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Okay, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll bring you more. Stay with us. It's iBrand Daybreak.